Alright, guys. I don't know what the problem was there. Oh, crap. Oh, shit. Shit's fucked up already. And doors are opening and people are coming in. Say hi, Data.
Hi, Data.
And how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. Not as good as you.
I am.
Well,
I'm so wonder.
what was that concoction you've been drinking?
Well, I started by
Black Rust.
murdering. Wait, hold on. I started by murdering this really, like, wonderfully smooth, tall black Russian.
Yeah.
And I did it with the following two screwdrivers that I had after her. And they made me feel good. What can I say? You know, a good night leads to a good night. You know, a couple of Russians and a couple of screwdrivers. You know, what can I say? Um, I have to say hello to everybody as I also have to apologize to everybody as I am in the intoxicated mood. I hope it's not too disentertaining. Hopefully, it's mildly entertaining.
Yes.
Guys,
Three sheets to the wind.
let me put it this way, guys. When you're a real life person and YouTube is not your primary profession, oh shit, I don't have to do anything till 7 p.m. It's 5:30 in the morning. The sun's starting to come up. I could put down some bricks and some wood chips and I can move some dirt around and I can run some equipment and get this and that done, and at like 3:30, 4 o'clock, fuck, my body hurts. I need to relax. I'm going to make myself a drink. After
Poof.
that drink, um the rest of the night then decides to go whatever way you decide the night goes once you've had a drink, which is never how you expect before the drink is had. And thus brings us to the point where we are tonight, where we're going to have a conversation. We're going to have a person to person conversation about a real life topic that has everybody so heated tonight. And not only are they so heated, but I realize that this looks like it's the Great Debate, episode number 75, version 2, and that is not it. I apologize to anybody who sees that. I am slowly fixing everything as we go and trying to get shit running. So if I robot, if I click, if I bounce out, if I make funny noises that I don't intentionally mean to make, sorry for some of you, just let me know. If I'm more entertaining than normal, I will mix myself a drink an hour before every show every day. You guys just tell me what I have to do to make you happy. Do you like the UFO? Look at it just floating up there and all those lights. Boy, I love orange juice. All
Hey,
right,
wait a second. Where's the flat Earth?
it floated away.
I thought we're going to add each topic to the back screen as we go.
I don't
It's
know
going to stay
where.
there.
Hold on.
It'll,
Hold on.
huh?
I had a plan to add to today's intro. Today's
Oh,
intro was supposed to have a gun shooting, and I actually have that. I've created it before. I have an 8 millimeter launching a bullet straight out of the gun into the
I thought,
nether. And
I
I
thought they're
can't.
9 mil. I thought it was a 9 millimeter.
Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know. It,
So yeah, that's the topic. The topic is guns. It's very divisive.
here's the
People,
problem though.
people love them. People hate them.
I don't know where my gun file exactly went. I'm still trying to find some of
Not
them.
supposed to file guns.
So, so here's what we're gonna do: is I make this weird, funny clicking. I don't have all the windows open on my computer, guys. I apologize. This is a well scheduled yet. You know what? Numbskull fucked up. God
Well, you know
damn
what?
it, Skeeter.
You know what? You know what God said. When a window's not open, a door will be.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna try to do this off the cuff kind of style. We're gonna clear this up. Let's have just let's have a conversation. for a little
Okay.
while.
So,
I'm gonna
so
try and
you,
monitor the chat while we go.
do you, I'll do it too. Do you own a gun?
I do, but it's not like. Let's say I
Yeah,
own things I
yeah,
should and I own things I shouldn't.
okay, so that was a yes or no question. You own
I
a gun.
don't
What kind
own a gun by the legal definition of a firearm. However, I
of,
own things I legally should not own,
okay,
and I
so
have other
do you,
things.
do you own a handgun or a rifle?
I own this little thing that takes a 22 millimeter shell to launch a 4-inch nail into a piece of concrete because technically you
You own a
need to be
fucking nail
licensed.
gun?
Hold on. Certain nail guns, you need to be a licensed
Yes,
firearm
yes,
owner.
yes. I know
Did you
what a
know about
nail.
that?
Yes, I know about a nail gun that uses a cartridge.
Okay.
That's like that's
Be
a heavy duty contractor's nail gun that you
yeah.
can slam a damn metal right into concrete.
Oh man, I love that fucking tool. Oh, it just gives me a hard on every time I
That's
smash
not
that
a so
fucker.
so
It
that's
is
not an
not a
actual.
firearm, but I could
Yeah,
kill you with it if I tried. I bet you I
yeah.
could.
I could kill you with a baseball bat, but I'm not a baseball player.
Okay, so I have let me
I
preamble everybody in
I
this chat by saying there is a reason I do not own a legal licensed firearm. I am a convicted state felon. And in the state that I'm convicted in, and many others, I am not permitted by law to buy a legal firearm.
okay. So TMI. Would you buy a firearm if you had the ability?
Absolutely. I would love me a
Okay.
nice little rifle. I'd love to just go fucking target shooting. Plus, how
Okay.
many fucking deer have I hit with my fan? I'd love to hit him with
So
a nice 22 slug, wouldn't
okay.
you? At
So
least it'd beat
okay.
me
So
better.
so you'd like a rifle? Yeah. I own a shotgun. It's a stainless steel pump action. I used to be a yacht captain, and that's the gun of choice on yachts. It's solid stainless steel, so it doesn't rust. Usually, click click is all you need. Um, but you don't own pistols.
All right, so let me add into this. When I was, and this was a bit ago, I was about 7 or 8 years old. My stepfather, who was a licensed legal firearm owner, had a shotgun, a rifle, and an 8 millimeter handgun, which is why I always say 8 millimeter just instinctively because it was the first gun I ever fired. At a young age, I was taken out on the land that we owned, which had a barn that was dilapidated, fallen down. And he would set up these cans and glass jars and whatever else that he could set up on those big bricks from the foundation of the old barn. And he would hand me the gun and go, "This is what you do. This is how you operate it. This is how it works. Make sure you understand what this is capable of. And okay, this is how you fire it. This is what you do. Shoot at this glass jar. Shoot at that can. Shoot at this. Okay, no. Hand me the gun back.
So,
Here's the rifle. This is how you operate it. This is how it works. This is what you do. This is what to be careful of." He would run me
so,
through, and I actually got to do target practice at 7 or 8 years old. Do I
so
remember
this,
or understand it? Most of it, no. But I was there. I mean,
so,
I was
so what you're
exposed to
saying,
it.
so what you're saying is the saying he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn was your experience at a young age
No,
with.
I tell you, at 7 or 8 years old, I could, at at now being more intelligent, was about 30, maybe 40 feet. Could use an 8 millimeter pistol and take out a 1 quart jar at 30 to 40 feet without a problem. 2 out of 3
Okay.
times.
I mean, look, young kids have great eyesight. They also don't have shaky hands. They also, have a light touch.
The
So,
shotgun was a bit different. Don't get me wrong. The long rifle, that's a whole different world. I was a
mhm.
kid, and shit affects you differently.
so,
Um,
so you're you, if you had the ability and the money, you'd be a gun nut. You'd have a
Not a
collection.
nut, but I would
You'd have a
be
collection.
a
You'd buy and sell.
responsible owner, is what I
Yeah,
would say
look,
I'd be.
I'm not saying gun nut as in derogatory. I mean just like a gearhead.
I would say I would have a safe with at least two
Right.
pistols and at least a rifle and at least a shotgun. Period.
So what I'm saying is like a gearhead is a guy who's into cars and probably has a car collection. A gun nut is probably a guy who's really into guns and has a gun collection. That's all.
Do you want
So
to
you'd
see
be a
my
gun
nine?
nut.
Do you want to see my '95 Mustang 5-speed manual on the floor?
Not particularly because
Okay.
new fast cars are plastic.
Okay. No, 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 no.
A real,
My
real, a real,
my.
a real Mustang, a real Mustang is a
Are you,
'67
I was about to
fastback
say. I was
with a
about to say. Are you gonna say the
390 and a
'67 and the
four
'69?
speed. So, anyways, back to the guns.
Back to the guns.
So,
I would
I mean,
own them. However, that is something that's really hard to put across to people. When you start talking about guns, a real problem is when you talk about guns, do the people that talk about guns have any exposure with them? And
well,
some of them don't. Some people
tonight,
talk about guns like, oh, these are these hugely dangerous things. Have you ever fired one? Well, no.
excuse me, excuse me. Can I get a word in
I
edgewise?
apologize.
You
I've had a
ever
few drinks.
uh, have you ever been shot?
Not by a legitimate firearm, no.
Okay, I have. Now, a lot of people that talk about guns, either side, the ones that hate guns and the ones that love guns, haven't been shot. And I'll tell you, if you've ever been shot, you would rethink positions on a lot of different things. Now, like I said, I have a gun. It's for protection. It's for when shit hits the fan. It's for when you're out in the middle of the ocean and there's nobody there to help you. Okay, that's one thing. And it's a pump action shotgun, which is basically, you don't have to aim with a pump action shotgun as much as you do with a pistol. It's a little more imposing to the other side. Pistols, though, were specifically made for two things: target practice and killing humans. Yes, you can kill animals. Yes, you can put a horse out of its misery, but they were basically not long distance. They were basically close in. They were invented for man to man combat. That's what they were designed for. They were designed to be easily carried and easily used to kill other people. Would you have a problem with handguns being outlawed?
No. Well, yes. All right, here's the problem I have. And this is a problem that a lot of people will seemingly understand. And this is a problem I see as a felon. Okay, let me make this clear to my audience. And this isn't just because I've been drinking. Let me make that clear. I say, pardon me. I say this all the time. I I have served time for drug offenses, and I have no problem readily admitting that I've served time. So, as a felon, let me state this: that I'm not allowed to own a firearm in most places unless I decide to lie or disobey or do something mildly or mostly illegal. So, for other people to own a firearm is possibly dangerous. I understand that other persons, other individuals with possibly my same level, other felons will readily and easily own a firearm and
Look,
happily use it against another person. I have spoken with, I have associated with some of the people that would happily take a gun and put it between the center of your eyes and pull the trigger. And then to
Yeah,
say that I, as now a years past serving my time, having been through my prison and
point,
other sentences and served my post release time,
point.
would love to be able to defend myself against persons who I know
Yes,
would happily shoot me.
yes. But again, I didn't say all guns.
No,
Okay,
I would.
and you're probably better. You're probably better defending yourself with a shotgun than with a handgun. Because in close quarter combat, you can use the shotgun to beat somebody to death with, and in semi close, you wouldn't have to aim. Hell, just seeing the shotgun may freeze the other person in their tracks. Now, I'm also not saying that there's going to be a magic wand where, okay, if we make handguns illegal, all handguns just will poof vanish overnight, and the criminals won't have them either. No, I'm not saying that, but I am saying that, is that a good step? Is that the first step to maybe, because see, the other thing with handguns are they're easily hidden.
The other thing I have to ask you is, hold on. Now, I want to take a complete aside. Now, I'm trying to watch my audience. I know there's a lot of chat going on. I'm going to scroll back and take a look at this. I want to offer this complete object opinion. As a person who has gone hunting, who has spent time with other people who hunt, a lot of hunters carry an 8mm or a 9mm handgun when they go out with their rifle or shotgun to
Yes,
hunt deer.
to
The
kill.
reason is because once they get that round off and they track down what they're hunting, they want to put it down before it suffers. And oftentimes
Right,
at
but they
close
could do
range,
that.
that
They could
helps.
do that with the same rifle that they shot him with.
You
So
can, but at close range, you and I
hell,
both know a
you
shotgun
use
and
a
a
fucking
rifle at close range will do a whole lot
dude.
more splatter
If
than most
if you're
handguns.
listen, if you just shot a deer and you're gonna go ahead and take it down to the meat, you could also put it out of its misery with a long fucking hunting knife. So
Okay,
absolutely
depending on
absolutely
the hunter.
listen, absolutely have to have a handgun so it's sitting on your hip like some cowboy is more of a friggin' what decoration than anything else, because
Honestly, I
everything
can
else can be
say
used.
I can say a handgun never, even as a person who even, went out on the street and sold drugs to people, a handgun never had an appeal to me. Because the
Then what are you
attraction a
arguing about?
handgun would bring and the dangerousness that a handgun had associated with it in even what I did, even dealing drugs, the association of even having a handgun on you put you at so much at a higher level of problems that it wasn't
Oh,
worth it. But for hunters that I know, a lot of people,
listen,
and
if
this
we
is living
guys
in a country area, hunters would
time
like
out,
to have a handgun on them.
time out. If we're being loud, sorry about that, but you can drop the levels on your side.
Well, let me turn myself down.
Sorry if
Are
we're
we being
getting a
loud?
little animated. I've got my mic far, far away from me, so I don't know if it's me
I
or
might be a
or
little bit close.
um. But again, all I'm saying is, I mean, just to throw the now again, okay, let's say forget it. Let's not change anything, and then we get into, well, let's apply the laws that are on the books. The problem with the laws that are on the books is they're unfunded mandates, which means the federal government put them in place, but the federal government ain't giving the states any money to deal with them. So, if if we want to put our money where our mouth is, then let's go ahead and fund these unfunded mandates and make the gun laws that we have work 100% fully, right?
Right. Now, hold on.
Now the other argument is, oh well, the Second Amendment, we got to have our guns so we can kick Washington D.C.'s ass and kick all the Congress people out of their fat cat white towers and replace them with regular people because we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that argument, that may have been the intent of the Second Amendment, but that argument is pointless because at this point, our government is recording everything we say, everything we type, everything we send, everything we do online. If anybody wanted to throw a red flag up, we could be fucking toast by a fucking drone, and it would be as quick as a flip of a switch. So storming the White Towers of Washington D.C., if even you could get enough people that pissed off to get off their fucking couch and not watch NFL and not watch NASCAR and not watch their soap operas and get them all armed and get them all walking towards Washington, D.C., it would be a very short fight. And basically, we would be doing them a favor because we would be grouping everybody pissed off and motivated into one place so they could eliminate them all and start business as usual the next day.
But you could say part of that is because of what we'd allowed the government to do to our gun rights. If our gun rights were equal with that of the United States, somebody or some persons in the United States would have equal gun rights, and we could easily take on the government if we wanted. That's if the government started to go against the people, though.
When the Second Amendment was written, most everybody had a rifle. They had a rifle because they had to go out into the forest and get their protein. There was no Safeway. There was no Food Mart. They had a cow, which they made butter and milk with, and they needed some protein, so they shot some fowl and they shot some deer and they brought it back and they could feed their family. And at the same time, there was no army. So you had state militias, and they all got together and did some target practice and marched in nice little clean rows and practiced being, warriors. But that was a long time ago. And if you wanted to make it equal, who here has $1 billion handy for an F-25 fighter? Who here has a few $1 million to? But you wanna sell tanks and fighter planes at your local dealership? I mean, I personally have a problem with the United States selling weapons to other countries. I mean, the whole damn thing is a self-perpetuating prophecy. We build weapons so we can sell them to other people, so they could start wars, so we can then come in and save the day?
Kind of, yeah. Later, TA.
And who makes the money? Who's making all this fucking money? You think we are?
No, it's literally corporations and
it's not corporations.
The government making large portions of money off of forcing money to be spent in certain areas of the economy that they benefit the most from.
It's about 500. It's about 500 damn families. Okay, it's about 500 damn families that $1 billion is not enough.
All right,
so
I'm gonna try to pretend to be sober for a minute And I'm going to look back at the chat and see what we've got going on now that I finally got shit loaded on my screen without causing the entire stream to go like shit. So, if I sound really low to anybody, or really high to anybody, or really drunk to anybody, just let me know. By the way, I am a little bit high and pretty drunk. So, if those are part of your criteria, I apologize. It is a Saturday night.
Who's
I've
what?
spent a lot of time
Who's
outside.
what? Rye?
Um,
Numbskull? Oh,
let's.
Lenska.
Hi, Alenska.
Hello
How are you
there.
doing?
Hugs.
I'm gonna work for Malenska up in the chat. We got Reterrapin. Who is this guy? This guy is the numbskull. He's just had a little too much vodka for the night and is trying to make it interesting. Then we also have a wild fox up here. Something's bullshit. YouTube, a couple of $100 maybe max. Numbed is America from Unwanted Reaper. Yes, I'm in America. I don't know if I is America. Reterrapin,
Oh,
say
okay. Olenska, this is Data Wasteland.
yes, this is the Numbed Wasteland. It is hosted by your host, the Numbskull, and DataWasteland. What we try to do is take a little
Big hug.
a little bit of a numbed opinion and a little bit of a data, and we throw it out there for everybody to hear. It's different from our regular game show in we want to talk about something a little more in depth, and we try to bring a little bit of fact into the equation as we go. If I'm a little quiet, somebody let me know. I turned myself down probably way too much, but I'm kind of loud tonight because I've had a few drinks. So we'll keep going. Who else do we have in the chat? We have an Unwanted Reaper, and he's got a whole lot of text up here. Unwanted Reaper, Wild Fox. We have a Malevolent Rider. Always good to see people in the chat. We have Scobot. Fuck Scobot. We have TA, who had to go, but we appreciate that they were here tonight. I'm going to keep scrolling up as far as this will allow me to scroll, which that says that's it. Okay. Then, bots aren't working yet. Give me a moment. Are they working? No, they're working. The bots are on, guys. If you want to cancel
So
some
yeah,
games.
every week on Saturday around this time, Num and I are gonna pick a topic. Last week it was flat Earth. This week it's guns. Next week, who knows? It could be 9/11. It could be
We already did a
anything and
did.
everything.
Didn't you and I already do a 9/11 stream like a
We
month
we
or
didn't
so
really
ago?
we didn't really do a 9/11 stream because I didn't have a microphone, and
Oh,
you were still convinced that buildings could just fall into themselves for no reason whatsoever.
well, they were designed to do that. But we'll get back
No,
to
they
9/11. We do
no,
have
they weren't.
we do have so much stuff to talk about. There's so many things in the world that can go so wrong, and who, who knows what side of the wrong we fall on. So today we're talking about guns. And as a slight interjection, in addition to whatever data has already said, because I choose not to repeat it due to my current intoxication, which is what I'm mentioning right now, I have been drinking tonight because I've spent my day outside in the sun working, and what better to
Yes.
make the day feel better than a little alcohol? So, with a little alcohol, we're going to talk about weapons. And
Oh
what goes
yes.
better with alcohol than firearms? Now,
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. Now on Discord, in a private message between you and me, I gave you a whole bunch of links to a whole bunch of information
I'm
about
slowly getting able to load
guns,
those.
about world statistics, about
Now, I do have to preamble that I did have everything set up to run this show at 6 o'clock.
oh my God, would you stop already?
At
Enough.
6 o'clock, everything was set. All the pages
Yeah,
were open. All the apps were running. Everything was good. And I went
and
to
then
Sir
and then your
Adamantine.
laptop shut off, and
And
then
then
your laptop shut off.
no. I went over to Sir Adamantine stream. And I'm sitting there bullshitting with Sir Adamantine and crew. And everybody's going, "You're roboting." Well, I don't want a robot during my stream. I
You
better
think you
restart
think
my computer. So at 5 minutes before the hour, I restart my computer, It's
You
7
think
minutes
maybe
after the hour. It's finally fucking
you
running again.
you think maybe they just said that to get a word in?
I don't know. When I drink, I can talk. I tell you what, I can keep going. Do you want me to keep going? I can fill the stream. We won't have any empty free space. We don't have to have the crickets creaking, do we?
Hey, oh god. Wipe your chin. I could
You
just
can hear
picture
the
the drool.
drool going down as the drink is just
Picture the
surpassing
drool.
my lid.
Okay, so
I'm trying to
we're
locate
both
my.
for we're both for guns. We're both for the laws that are on the books.
All right,
You know,
I
I see an
understand.
argument. I see an argument, and I see, people comparing guns to cars and guns to knives, and I see it. Listen, in England, they've got guns banned, but they don't have guns banned because the rich have duck guns, and they spend thousands of dollars on their duck gun collection.
I
So
have a
maybe they don't
question.
have guns banned.
I have a question. Let me try to meander a little bit of soberness. Hold on. Let me readjust my level so I don't feel like I'm talking so quiet. Let me fix things as I'm not right on top of my mic
What
now.
if they're
I
not
hope this
broken?
sounds good to everybody, okay? Let me get this out there. As a sober part of my intoxicated mind. There is there is a couple of arguments that I have with guns. Let me throw both sides. If nobody has a gun, everybody is safe. If
No, they're not.
no, hold on. Bear with this argument.
Okay.
If guns did not exist, then nobody with a gun would exist. Nobody would have a hand above another person. However, as a felon in a country where 10% of the country are felons, other persons like myself do have, are in possession of weapons, and do not hold the same political and social viewpoints that I do. They do not feel a problem with causing harm with their
It's
weapons to get what they're after.
A
Okay?
wild fox appears has a point which I was going to make to you, which is you said something about that really didn't make any sense. That if nobody had guns, nobody would have an advantage. But the problem is, if you're a boxer, your hands are your weapons. If you have a sword, and one guy has a knife, then he's brought a knife to a sword fight. I
Okay.
mean,
Okay.
all throughout human history, there's been weapons and people killing people. That be that as it may be back then you had to have a little skill to use a weapon, whereas guns, yes, you have to aim, but the advance of mechanized utopian future have allowed us to basically click a switch and shoot a projectile and kill somebody. So,
I want everybody to understand that I am pro Second Amendment. However, I am not 100% pro gun. Okay? Now, this is very hard to understand. But as I slowly begin to sober up here with a little energy drink and a lack of alcohol, I, as a felon, believe that most other persons that I have spent time with in serving for my felony should not be in possession of firearms due to their outlook on life and what they would and could and have done with firearms. Do I believe that what they have done should negatively impact me for what little I have done, considering I fall under the same determination that they do under a felony? Yes. Yes, I do. I've done something nonviolent that is a felony. Should I have to admit up to what I've done and pay fines and fees and regulations and do extra shit to get my rights back? Absolutely, I should. Because
yes, Boris.
I fucked up. Somebody
Yes,
didn't fuck
Lawrence,
up for me. I
you
fucked
did.
up and I did something stupid. And that's where I'm okay admitting in my felony. Now, if somebody who has not screwed up, has not done something wrong, and has nothing against them in buying a firearm, should they, could they, or would they possess a firearm? Absolutely, they should. And they should be trained how to use it. They should know what they're doing. They should understand the consequences of owning a gun and if they do something wrong with it. That is what I firmly believe. If you don't understand the consequences of the things that you do wrong, you're more willing to do something wrong because you don't know what happens when you do that.
Okay.
Does that make sense to anybody? Now, I'm
Does-
sorry. I understood that bad things would happen if you sold drugs, but I didn't know exactly what would happen when you sold drugs. That wasn't explained to you in school when they go, hey, by the way, don't do drugs, don't sell drugs, bad things will happen to you. Well, what? Well, I'm sorry. When you go serve time, you realize that, hey, by the way, if you sell controlled substances to multiple individuals on multiple occasions, did you know that certain laws give you at least or more than 7 years to life for certain controlled substances, depending on what you sell? Did you know that you can spend the rest of your life in prison over one tiny pill? The rest of your fucking life? I bet most people don't know that. I bet most people don't know if you don't read a few law books your first couple of weeks when you're serving time in jail that you won't figure out how to save yourself the rest of your fucking life behind bars because of one pill or a baggie of powder. That doesn't make sense to most people. Most people don't realize what rights you have or you lose until you've done something stupid and served time for it that you didn't even realize was as bad as you thought it was. These things don't always come across people. So when you put a gun in somebody's hands who doesn't realize what that gun's capable of, what is that gun now capable of in somebody's hands who doesn't realize what that gun can do? What the repercussions of them using that gun could do to them, their life, and somebody else's life. When somebody shoots a gun through a phone book because it's an inch and a half thick and it may possibly save your life, what does that do to the person both shooting the gun and the one being shot by the gun? Do people think these consequences out when they aren't illustrated in your life? When you're taught these things about doing the right thing and the wrong thing in school? Do you think about the the happenstances of what you do because of the decisions you make? And I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna look at chat and let Data speak for a minute because I realize I'm drunk and I need to take a drink.
Look, yeah, it sucks to break the law. It sucks to lose your rights. I hope they give you a way of getting your rights back because they're important to have. As for guns, you know, guns are important to have too. I don't know if a lot of people know this that don't own guns or don't collect guns, but I'm unsure of the date. But I think any gun made, I could ask the chat, any gun made pre, I think 1920 is not part of any gun law or gun restriction. It can be bought and sold as a collector's item. Am I right about that?
I want to say you're talking any gun any gun that's pre copper shell. Is it copper shell? I think it's copper shell. Any gun that's pre copper shell where they loaded the shell with the
No,
gunpowder
no,
with the lead. Anything that you had to muzzle down and
no. I think revolvers. I think early revolvers do the same.
I'm
I
not
think like
very
18.
clear on
I
that.
think I think 18 like a 1980 Colt 6 shooter. I think you can buy and sell that like a collectible. But be that as it may, again, if we did make handguns illegal, they wouldn't all disappear overnight. They wouldn't even all disappear because there will be collectors. There will be handguns out there. Maybe the keeping handguns in a collection, eventually, paring down the amount would be a good idea. The thing about guns is it's so easy to shoot, but the circumstances can be such long-lasting, permanent, and severe ones.
Here's what the question comes down to, though, is what makes a gun a collector's item? If you own a model from 2000 that's a rifle and you don't own any ammo to it, are you a collector?
No.
Why?
You know why? Because that model is mass produced.
Okay.
Collect-
Does
collection.
it matter? If are you a firearm owner if you have
Let me ask
no
you that.
ability
Here, let me
to
ask you
fire
this.
the weapon?
Are you a car collector when you own a lot of rental cars, or are you a car collector when you buy, sell, and trade very unique, one of a kind automobiles?
Mm. See, no, that's a different. That's a whole. If I own a bunch of rental cars, then I own them. If I rent out old collector's edition cars, then yes, I'm a car collector. If I
Yeah, but
own a specific model, if I only rent out one specific model, then yes, you could say I'm a collector. I'll only rent out Mercedes Benz style cars. It has to have a Mercedes Benz emblem on it or I won't rent it. Well, then I
yeah, but
own them all. I am then technically a Mercedes collector. Do I have to
no.
drive any of them?
Listen,
No. But I
there's
own them all.
there's a difference between owning something and collecting something. Yes, you own everything you collect, but you don't necessarily collect everything you own.
No, that's true. That is very true. Because I would collect something that I wouldn't use. Something that I collect is something that I'm willing to put up and set aside and not use. A collection is something that you decide is worth more than your current use.
You're a funny guy. You're a funny
See,
guy.
hold on. But again, that's where I find things. People hold different personalities and they've lived life differently. You haven't served time in prison, so you wouldn't see things the same thing alcohol kicking in. You won't see things the way I see them, having been kept away from certain things in life. You won't see a collection as something I see a collection as something that I wouldn't normally be able to have, but I can have because I haven't screwed up. So
Collect a collection doesn't necessarily have to have value either. I mean,
no,
there are people that
I have a baggie in the garage. It's pot stems. That's a collection. It has no value. It's a collection of pot stems.
yeah,
Every time I'm done with a bag, I add more stems to it.
that's really smart in your position. That's I applaud
Shut
you
up.
because
Shut up.
I applaud you on your very very smart idea of collecting that.
I have a
And
baggie full of pot
and
stems. It's not intentional.
and announcing it on the web. Now,
America.
what I was gonna say, was there are people that collect barbed wire because there's thousands of types of barbed wire. There was always some guy that came up with a better barbed wire than another guy, and there are collections like that.
Razor wire.
I mean, people collect a lot of stuff. People collect shot glasses. People collect,
Razor wire above a 13-foot fence, 10 feet apart with a road in between and roads on the outside. Razor wire.
But
Outside my bedroom window for a year. Razor wire.
buying a mass-produced gun, that a million were shot out through some big machine, isn't necessarily a collector's weapon. Finding a six-shooter owned by some famous cowboy, now that's a collectible.
What's a 1971 American quarter worth to you right now, DataWasteland?
You cut out a 1971 American what?
Quarter?
A 1971 American quarter is what?
What's it worth to you right now?
I guess it's worth 25 cents because that's after silver. That's a clad coin, unless
Okay.
it's got issues.
Okay,
Unless it's
so
got like double stamp or from a specific mint.
$10,000 worth of Canadian quarters from 1970 were reprinted with an American 25-cent quarter in 1971, making the American
Really?
1971 quarter printed out of one of the plants worth over $10,000. Would you know this if you knew nothing about the quarter? Did you know
No,
this before I mentioned it to you?
no.
Okay,
That
so if you explained to me something about a gun that made it special, would I know anything about it before you mentioned it to me?
that depends if you knew or not.
Okay,
How
so
could I? How could I answer what you knew or what you didn't know? I
okay,
mean,
so let's
the
go on
same.
this. Let's go on this. This is where a huge part of the gun debate comes in, and this is what I see. And maybe you can help me explain this. A lot of people who talk about guns don't necessarily understand what it is they're talking about. They understand that there's guns out there, and guns are destructive. They're lethal. There's plenty of them, and a lot of people have them. And you don't know if the wrong person has one until it's too late. So, should all of the people who responsibly own their guns suffer for those who maybe are irresponsible once in their lifetime with a gun and do something stupid that we all gun owners and some non-gun owners know is irresponsible? Should everybody suffer for that?
Okay, the suffering you're talking about is adding new gun laws. So let's not add new gun laws. Let's make sure that the unfunded mandates of the gun laws we have are paid for and followed through on. Maybe that'll help. Because frankly, the one thing you can point at that nobody can argue with is there's a hell of a lot of death and there's a hell of a lot of violence, and it's coming from guns. And for some crazy reason, there are countries with more guns than we have, with less problems. And then again, there are countries with more murders than we have, with less
fewer
guns.
Yes. And
So
that
there's
goes
a
back
problem.
to kind of what some people call an
Or,
inherent
or
property
maybe
of being human. That you
or
just want to
maybe
kill
this
people.
whole thing or maybe this whole thing is just moot because maybe there isn't a problem. Maybe you're right. Maybe, the gun laws, we shouldn't have any gun laws. Matter of fact, hell, let's make guns available in vending machines. Okay? Let's let everybody buy a gun who has loose change in their pocket. Hell, let's subsidize guns. Is that you think that'll?
That's another question though. If we do that, and this is something non-Americans don't quite realize. Okay, as an American, the way we look at guns is a little different than how most countries look at guns. So if we make guns so that we could buy them like we could a pack of cigarettes in the 1980s, where you could walk in somewhere and drop your money in a machine and grab the gun you want and just stop and grab the ammo you need on the way through, no big deal. You never know who has one. The question becomes, are you putting yourself in danger by pulling your gun? Are you putting yourself in danger by defending yourself with a gun?
Well, here, now, how about this? Let that guy who just got shot in Brooklyn, the cops shot him, right? He was a little off his rocker, and he was walking around with a chrome tube in his hand, pretending it was a gun, and he was facing people off, and he was He was pretending to heist on people, and he was pretending he was jamming the thing into people's chests. He was holding it like a gun with the stance and all. He was aiming at people,
For
and
the
you had
first for
five,
the first
and
three
you had
seconds,
five.
drunk me didn't know what the hell you were talking about until you said the guy
Right,
that was putting it in his
and
chest,
and
and I was
and,
like, okay, now, yeah, that guy.
and then
Honestly,
then
I
you
would have
had
feared for my life. I
then
probably
you
would have
had.
dropped unconscious if
Let
somebody
me
put that
let
in my
me
throat.
finish. Let me
Sorry.
finish. You had five people call up 911 to call the cops to get him out here because they had some guy here that had a gun and it was being crazy with it, right? Well, if everybody had a gun, nobody would call 911, right?
Somebody would have shot him.
Right. Somebody would have shot him. So, is that what we want? Do we want the Wild Wild West? Do
So
we
here's
want
the
do, do we want people to settle their arguments by
so
stepping outside
here's the
and having a
question.
duel?
Let me having taken a sip of my nice energy drink, let me calm down for just a moment. Here's the question. If one of the and there was a few snippets of film where he walked up against a mother who was walking across the street with her child, an older black guy who was standing on the side of the road and put the pipe up to his chest, and then the stance against the cops, and then there was one other one. If
That's
somebody
that's
had
only
shot
what we
him once
saw.
in any of those
That,
situations, then
dude,
that would have been
that
done.
was remember that's only what we saw in
Right.
the cameras. Remember that not all cameras were available and not everything is under camera. So that was just a snippet of probably a hell of a lot more.
All right. Vigilante justice is not justice. I am sobering up a little bit. I apologize, guys. I like to drink once in a while, and it just so happened to be today. I apologize. However, vigilante justice is not justice. If I were carrying a gun and somebody pulled something that I thought were a gun against me and I was defending my life, I would be more quick to pull the trigger than the person pulling the gun on me because I'm defending my life and they're threatening it. Now, that guy ended up getting shot 10 times by 4 police officers. If
Right.
one of the people he pulled that pipe up against had shot him once, what would have been the difference by him being shot once by a civilian protecting their own life versus being shot by 4 cops 10 times? What would the difference be? Would it be better or worse to be shot by a civilian or police officers? I don't
You're
see a
dead.
difference.
I don't either. You're dead. You're dead either way. If especially if the shot is in a crucial spot.
The
And
point
for
comes
those
down to
and for those people that say, "Oh, well, you could shoot them in a less prone area," I'm sorry, but if your life is on the line, you don't shoot for the toes. You don't shoot for the fingers. You shoot for body mass center or the head.
and if somebody who was at close range had reflex, pulled a gun and shot him for threatening their life, he would have suffered far more damage from one shot at close range than several shots at far range.
Yeah, possibly. Depending on the ammo, depending on the gun, depending on
Most
the shot
most
and where.
guns at close range, if you're near the body, to change from the airspeed and everything into a body causes the bullet to change trajectory inside the body. At close range, at high velocity, a bullet does a lot of damage. At far range, at high velocity, a bullet doesn't do quite as much damage.
Yes, but there are high velocity bullets and low velocity bullets. I was shot with a Beretta 9 millimeter in the leg. It shattered my tibia, and the doctor said I was lucky. Instead of drilling through the tibia because it was a high speed bullet, it should have molded itself around the tibia and then changed directions and filleted me, maybe going up all the way up through my knee and up through my leg and maybe into my torso. Who
Yeah.
knows? And I'll tell you, getting hit, even in the leg, I found myself on the floor and I wasn't sure what the hell happened. I didn't hear the gunshot. All I noticed is I looked down and I was wearing white socks, and all of a sudden one of my socks was red, and I was like, "Why is my sock red?" Because I was in shock. And then they grabbed me and threw me into the back of a pickup and took me straight over to the damn hospital. But and then it was months of therapy and months of getting back on my feet again. So again, this was a click of a finger.
Yeah. And mind you,
And I
people
was
don't
like,
realize this, but bullets travel at just above the speed of sound, which within several hundred meters, by the time you hear the noise, it's already over.
there's a sound. There's like I think there was a movie. He never heard the shot coming, or he only heard the ricochet, or something like that. Because you don't. Yeah, I mean, I was. It hit me. I was out. I came back and I was like, what the hell? I found myself on the ground.
It's not like the movies where you hear the gunshot and then realize, well,
Shit,
yeah, it
no.
kind of is. You hear the gunshot and then realize you've
And the
already
pain was
been hit and it's done.
unbelievable.
Um, I've never been shot, but I've never been shot by a lethal firearm. I've been shot by high-speed pellet rifles, just
Yeah,
to the point where they blister the skin but not penetrate. But
yeah. It's a different
that's a
experience.
whole different world to me. I would
Yeah,
prefer to stay out of
anybody.
if I could.
I wonder, and that's something that would be interesting. You can read all these damn Pew reports, Pew,
Pew
research and all
pew.
this.
Is that a
The
pun? Pew
Pew,
pew.
yeah, Pew research. You can read all these damn graphs and whatnot, but I'd love to see a graph of how many people that got shot that were into guns became out of guns, or all of a sudden we're a little turned off by guns. I got to tell you, for months, even years afterwards, even hearing a gunshot, even though I didn't hear it to myself, but seeing it on movies and television, it kind of like gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, no longer,
having
because
having
decades
fired a
ago.
gun, having fired a gun and been around one, we both know that what they portray in movies is similar, but not like actually firing or being around a fired weapon. The sound is close, but they way over animate it. They add a lot of effect to bullets in movies. The sound is a lot lower, and
Most
the after ring, when you fire a gun, you can really hear that aftershock more than you can in movies, more than you can the shot. The shot has less sound than the aftershock rings in your ears.
most movies also, the guns don't run out of bullets.
Yeah, there's that too. Boom, 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 boom. Was that 13? Well, that clip was only supposed to hold 6.
So
Oh,
yeah. So let's see. We talked about laws. We talked about new laws. We talked about magically making guns disappear. There's also the suicide aspect. The guy who lives in the apartment below me. He well, not him, but a few years back, the guy who rented from below me. He was like into drugs and whatnot, and I don't know. I think he got depressed because he wrecked his truck, and then he wrecked the rental car. And one day, I guess he was feeling very blue, and he took his rifle and blew the top of his head off underneath me.
Malevolent Rider says she's going back to Sir Adamantine. Am I
And the
not
bullet
drunk
made it
enough?
through his ceiling and pushed up one of my floor uh, uh, planks.
Ooh, ooh.
So, but it was nowhere near where I was. But yeah,
I
so
can
it was,
say that having lived in certain areas of outside of Sacramento, that I have been mildly exposed to gun violence, and in the south side of Sacramento, also mildly exposed to my a
Well,
little bit of
again, I mean, right now, suicide is like at an all-time high, and
suicide is
most
2/3 of the American gun killings on a daily basis, on a daily
right.
average.
So there's that. Now, do we want to throw some money at free mental care, or do we want to let do we want to
What
keep treating mentally ill by putting them in jail?
what does throwing money at mental care actually do when you stop and think about it?
Well,
Granted,
well,
this is a whole
right now,
different topic,
right
but
now we don't. We arrest them or we hold them for those 72 hours, and then we let them go. And maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should hold them for 72 hours and and figure out what's wrong with them, and then move them somewhere else.
that would say that we could within 72 hours, which thank you America for granted our lovely justice system also makes things difficult and take longer. Be able to
Dude,
determine whether or
the
not
guy
they're
the guy who just the guy who just got shot in Brooklyn had bipolar issues.
okay, but at the same
He
time,
was
as
also he
somebody
was
with
all wait,
bipolar,
he was also 12 times cops came to his residence for spousal abuse
okay, no,
or
that's different.
family abuse.
That's where you should get caught up in the system is when you're called on that many
Well,
times.
a lot of times that's what's happening. But what the problem is, we're treating them with jail time. I mean, it's the same thing as drug addiction. Do you arrest somebody who's drug addicted, or do you medically treat them?
Give them drugs and send them home. They'll be calm if you just give them drugs and send them home. Give
I
me an
mean,
eighth of pot, send me home. I'll be fine. I'll be
do we
fine.
put a
Just leave me alone.
band-aid on it, or do we get them real, you know, problem solving?
You're right though. At the same time, as somebody who who has been a member of the system, help is important, and things that I learned from being in the system have helped me through other times of my life. So yes, the help that's there is good for people, but it's not always going to benefit people. I've seen many people, and let me move up here. This is where my perspective holds different from some. I know there's a lot of people online that have been exposed to different things, and there's a lot of people that interject their opinion that have been involved in things, but I have served time. I have been involved in, large drug collaborations, and I've been arrested by stings. I've been through shit that I wish I hadn't been, and I can offer my little bit of perspective about it. And drugs isn't necessarily a life you get involved in by choice. It's a life that you kind of sometimes fall into because it just fits with what you're doing at the time. And yeah, help. Help to understand that what you're doing might not necessarily be the best, or a way to get out of what you're doing is hugely beneficial. But most people, in the time that they're in that situation, don't understand that that help is what they need. And even understanding that that is the help that you need, you're not necessarily willing to grab onto it.
And again, that's you're talking about somebody who was arrested dealing, and I'm talking about somebody who's arrested wanting, addicted,
Yeah.
unable to kick, and doing everything in their power to get more, including robbing,
And
cheating, stealing, breaking and entering. I
I've
mean, that's
spent
a
time
hell of a
with
lot of virus.
I've spent a lot of time with those people
In
having
jail. That's what I'm trying to say is, do
yeah.
we want to treat these people
No.
as criminals? Because
Some of them you can say are really scary individuals to even spend time with and talk to, because you realize that they're not quite stable, but the system doesn't have a place for them. And you realize
exactly.
this as you go through the system, that there really is nowhere for them. But do you really
Do we want to make a place for
Right.
them?
Do you make a place for them, understanding that making a place for every single exception costs more money, more time, more resources?
Personally, I think treating them costs less money than the havoc they're causing out on the street, and it wouldn't cost much more than just holding them in jail, because that costs money too. And that, though, doesn't solve anything, because then it's just a rotating door.
Right. All right. So let's aim. I'd hate to interject here. I'm sobering up, and I apologize for those entertaining the.
Would you stop apologizing?
I sorry. When I'm drunk, I do that. All right. So here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna run this show for about 15 more minutes as I sober up here, and then I'm gonna finish this bottle of water and try to, have another cigarette. Does
What do you
anybody in the
want to wait
chat
a
have
second?
anything
Yeah.
they want to specifically interject
Wild
about?
Fox. Wild Fox. What did you want to bring up?
I did. That's what I was saying. I'm seeing a lot of stuff, but I'm looking for, like, is there something that somebody wanted to specifically toss into this conversation? This is kind of off of what everybody else talks about guns. Everybody else is talking about the legalities and things like that. Let's talk about the interpersonal relationship. I'm a felon who cannot legally own a gun right now, and something that's new to me is DataWasteland is an individual who's actually been shot with a firearm. These are two separate perspectives that you don't often seem to hear from in the news or a lot of other places. Nobody really listens to the felon who goes, yeah, I understand. I've fired guns. I've operated guns. I understand why there's laws against me owning a gun and why I shouldn't have one. And I have no problem with it. I understand it. And somebody who's been shot by one realizing. Go ahead, Data. that,
Go ahead. What?
that,
I mean, I pretty much elaborated on the feeling and the damage and how easy it is too. That's why, hey, 2 out of 3 suicides recommend using a firearm. Yet that's something they can't back away from. At least, if they cut themselves or poison themselves, there's a chance that they can get rescued.
yeah, I get.
I mean, the whole gun debate is about the problems with it. Now, the arguments are, oh well, if you eliminated guns, people would use knives or hammers, or that guy in the right now who was arrested for taking the screwdriver out of the burglar's hand and stabbing the burglar with it to get him out of his house. So are you going to make screwdrivers?
Where was that? Hold on. Where was that one? I need to look at that one.
That was just recently. A guy, a retiree in his home, 2 guys break in. One guy has a screwdriver. They're threatening him with the screwdriver. He takes the screwdriver away, stabs one of the guys. Both of them run for it. The guy who was stabbed is found later on the street dead. The police come in, arrest the landlord, the homeowner, and luckily, though, they dropped the charges just recently, but they had him arrested. And right now, he's afraid of the burglar's family, and the burglar's family and friends are having like a vigil with all the flowers and whatnot, like right near the homeowner's house. So he's got to deal with that now.
Okay, now this is another thing that I have a problem with, separate again from the gun problem. And I'm looking the article.
I only bring it up because that's the argument. In other words, you've got people that say you make guns illegal, people use anything else. People can use cars to run other people over. True enough. but certain guns were made to kill people.
Yes.
That you can't argue with.
Okay, but how do you? All right.
You
Let's
can't argue with that. A
let's
weapon that was
let's rub
made.
this edge down just a little bit. Yes, you can say certain weapons were designed to kill for military purposes, which could be determined to say to kill people. And those weapons are military grade weapons. Now, because of the way our Second Amendment is written, members of constituents of citizens of should be able
Stop
to
right
own.
there.
Hold up.
Stop right there. No,
Go ahead.
because that amendment was written when people owned flintlocks. So don't even go there.
But
Don't even compare a flintlock to an AR-16, 17, 18, whatever AR it is.
not comparing the brand of weapons from time to time, but the point was written that we broke away from the English government saying that we believed our rights were distinct from theirs, and that should the government ever try to take those rights away from us, that the people should have the power to keep their rights.
Too late.
Hold on. And that if all of the people or a majority of the people in the country felt that their rights were being removed by the government, that the government was turning into a dictatorship or into a socialist republic, that we could come back.
Too fucking late. Have you ever heard of the Patriot Act?
Yeah. The problem is that things are clouded from where they were when the Constitution was written. Things are different.
You have no right to privacy. You may have a right to free speech to a point. Okay? Let's say the people that were demonstrating during Bush's terms were corralled up and put far away from the cameras. Now, was that this type of demonstrating that our founding fathers were talking about?
We're not talking AR.
We have no right to a lawyer. We have no right to a judge. We have no right to a speedy trial anymore.
Right.
We could be bagged and tagged and taken offshore and fucking tortured, and nobody would know where we were. And that's what we have now. So where is the militia?
They took my gun rights away when I got arrested.
What time are we going to enact Amendment 2 and kick the president out or the Congress out of the Congress?
And again,
because that argument
comes down. Hold on. Data, if you want to hold that argument, what power? If every constituent of the United States stood up right now, separate from the military, the military could wipe out the entire nation.
If a cow had udders, it'd be giving us milk. That's not an argument. An argument. If the UFOs land, maybe they can just snap their fingers and make everything stop working.
But this is where, and granted, you and I have different viewpoints. I'm not arguing against you in any way. I'm just saying that these different viewpoints offer such different perspectives that it's hard to say what's going to happen tomorrow when people who have different perspectives than you and I could be enacting something on their own that is completely different than what you and I are thinking. You could have people, what was it, in Oregon just a couple years ago? Thousands of rifles were found stockpiled for a militia.
I hear you, and you know what? They were all, you know what happened in that case, right?
Yeah, all the guns were confiscated. So now the people don't have them anymore.
I'm talking about the court case.
Oh, I forget about the court case. I remember the guns being collected.
Well, guess what? They were all acquitted. So one guy was shot by federal officers, and they were all now acquitted. They spent a hell of a long time in jail, but now they're all acquitted. So how do you like them apples?
It's hard.
There's your Second Amendment. There's your uprising. It was taken care of. It was arrested, and then the mainstream media made a joke out of it, and now nobody knows anything.
I just want to say to a wild fox appears in the audience. Thanks for hanging out with us this whole time as we all just kind of chill and just chat about this, because this is some of what people don't do, is just offer what they know, what they've heard. This is real people just talking about what we hear. We haven't brought even in the stats yet. And we could probably do an episode 2 about this next week, because I had Data look up stats because I told him I was drinking and I
Forget the
might be
stats.
useless.
You know what the problem with the stats is?
Is that
And
they
this
don't represent things accurately, even though
No,
they're
well,
statistics.
no. The whole thing with the stats is the same thing with the flat earthers. You can show them proof and stats and this, and they'll say, "Well, that was written by a lefty," and then you'll show other stats. Well, that was written by a righty, or this was written. It doesn't matter if they're not accepted.
All right, so let's get a couple quick things down that people can understand. Maybe we can agree on a couple things, because while Data and I may not agree, that doesn't mean we're not good co-hosts together. We're just offering opposing perspectives. If you take guns away from legal gun owners, that doesn't prohibit illegal gun owners from owning their illegal weapons, correct?
Right, right.
Okay.
And I don't think the government has a right to take anything away from anybody.
Okay. So these laws that these states are trying to enact to remove the ability for legal owners to have legal weapons does not take away from, in the United States, people who want
Well,
to own illegal weapons having higher powered, higher capacity, or
but
higher.
the argument to that is this: you can buy a car, but you don't necessarily you can't necessarily drive a car. You have to be licensed, you have to be tagged, you have to be insured. Okay, so having people that shouldn't be driving not driving, although there are a lot of people on the road right now that shouldn't be driving and aren't caught, but that still doesn't make an excuse for giving somebody a license that shouldn't even be driving a nail into a board. Okay? So that's the point. If we fund the books, if we fund the laws that are on the books right now, maybe, just maybe, we can get a few guns out of the hands of a few people that shouldn't have guns.
And that is exactly why I said I know and I understand why I should not have a weapon, even though I don't feel that it's right. And the reason that I understand that is because I know that other people who have done the same thing as I have really, really should not have a weapon because I've spent time with them. And if we could enforce the laws that we currently have, then other people like myself, including myself, wouldn't have a weapon.
Yeah, and if we
that could save a few lives.
If we also made it like if a mother found that her teenage son had a gun and she could get some money for turning it in, maybe that's a good idea too.
Yeah, you see, that's certain. It's hard to recall the municipalities, but I do recall a few.
That way, we get some illegal guns off the street.
There was a couple of areas that did that in maybe you can tell me with this. 2012,
Australia,
2013 in the United States, a
Australia did
couple of
that.
big cities did small buybacks. It wasn't a mandatory buyback, it was a constituent buyback program where if you brought in weapons, you would get cash credit for bringing in weapons. If the weapon was a weapon used illegally and it wasn't traced to you, you'd get extra credit for turning in weapons that they could be traced back. So if you owned a weapon that was illegal that you didn't use, that somebody else used, they were giving people fucking money for turning in guns that were illegal.
Right. I mean, Wild Fox, we both understand that there's still going to be illegal carriers of weapons. They'll
Always.
always be. You can have a law that says thou shalt not kill, and there'll always be killers and murderers. But do we do nothing, or do we do something? Do we try?
At the
I
same
mean,
time,
do we try? Do we try to get people that have suspended licenses off the street? Do we try to get people that have 15 drunk driving suspensions off the street, or do we let them continue to drive?
better question. I've known people with DUIs who've had their licenses suspended who still fucking get in a car and I try to take their keys away from them. Granted, this was like 10 years
Yeah,
ago.
it's a problem
You,
because they can't think straight, and they do it because it's almost out of force of habit.
and let's say if I had $15,000 right now that I could just expend for the purpose of wanting to own a firearm, even as a convicted felon, if I went and paid off certain dues, certain fines, and had certain paperwork filed, I could go buy a firearm right now. Well, within a couple of months after filing this paperwork. No problem. I wouldn't be able to own a handgun or a concealed carry permit, but I could own a rifle or a shotgun.
Well, there you go.
It it's how do you even this out? Because I don't have the money, I can't own it. But if I had the
You're
money, I
breaking up a
could.
little bit.
Sorry.
I don't know if it's like that for the chat, but your a few of your words are not coming through.
If things are getting bad, just let me know as I'm moving around. Because
Right
sitting
now,
still is a hard time.
even you talking close to the mic, like 3 words, every third word is dead.
I
I don't know.
apologize.
Do you hear that? Do you hear that in chat?
Please tell me if you hear that in chat. Either way, we're gonna get ready to start wrapping it up here shortly. We're at the
Okay.
hour and a half. Well, we're almost at the hour and a half mark. Where is my watch screen? I
Yeah, that's
lost it.
true. I
We
mean,
ran for an hour and a half last week, so that's just kind of my guidepost for this week. Even though we only got
now we're kind of talking in circles, anyways.
yeah, but that's another part of the conversation is people don't realize that once you start talking about something, you're just gonna keep talking back to where you started because the same points keep coming up over and over again. You're never gonna get over these points until you figure out a way around them, and we haven't. We could have the same idea about who should and would own a gun, but different ideas about how to enforce that. We could have the same ideas about how to enforce that about or different ideas about who should or would own a gun. But either
Yeah.
way, we're getting late on a Saturday night.
Or what type of gun they should own, or where they should be able to use their gun, or
Absolutely. And I
and
wish it were
and
more
the
in
whole
depth.
argument is, and the other argument is this all a big? Is this all bullshit? I mean, is there an actual problem? Because the some of the stats I've seen, there have been less murders in the past 3-4 years. So
What is
there's
it
been more suicide by gun, but there's been less murders by gun.
when you remove the suicide from the figures and you take the gun killings per year done and you remove the self-defense and the certain police verified things, it's what, approximately 10 to 12 people per day average throughout the year die from gun homicide?
Yes, Fox, mandatory mental screenings. And then to take it one more step, maybe we should also deal with the huge population of mental health recipients that aren't getting the health care they need.
I would even beg to say that a person who requires government assistance should not be able to own a firearm. I would even beg to offer that, and that comes from a weird point of view, but somebody who is willing to derive from government assistance is in a bad spot, and they're willing to do things to get somewhere better than where they are. And if you live off of government assistance, I've seen and been pretty desperate on government assistance.
Well, first of all, how would a person who's living on government assistance, who doesn't have a whole hell of a lot of money, even buy a gun?
You'd be surprised.
And B, is that now, are you now, and this is an argument that'll come up, are you now saying that the poor don't have a right to a gun where the rich do? Because that's exactly what somebody would say.
Hold on. There is a difference between being poor and asking for government assistance. There is a difference between being broke,
not really.
being poor, and living off of whatever you can get, than going to ask for handouts and government health care and government assistance. There is a difference.
You can't get government assistance unless if you have money. How are you going to get government assistance?
Smarter than the government, which isn't really that hard.
Well, there you go. There's another felony.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Is there are a lot of persons who go after government assistance because they realize they can get it.
So mental screenings, yes, and funded mandatory mandates, yes. So in other words, Congress.
Hold on. I have a really reasonably smart question. You explain to me how somebody who is going to ask the government for financial assistance, for government assistance, is going to turn around and own something like a firearm while asking for help and not possibly do something negative. I have not, and this is having lived in low income most of my life. Most low income people who live on government assistance sell everything they own, weapons first, because they're the highest dollar when you're on government assistance, before they can do it.
I don't know how up to current events you are, but Trump government assistance just started coming out to the poor people, and they're not enjoying it at all.
Exactly. How many of them do you think should own an 8mm or a 9mm?
Do you understand?
They're about to get a 40, 50-pound chest of frozen fucking fake beef. How many of them should have an 8 or a 9mm pistol if they're about to get 20 pounds of fake meat?
Yeah, that's basically it. I don't know if you've seen the videos, but
I have.
They are pretty pissed off.
Pissed off is not the word, and I'm sorry.
They're not getting
poor individual, as a poor individual who does not get food stamps, has not for years, and is very, very, very fucking difficult in the area I live in to even come close to being able to get them. That chest of food they got, I half drooled over the fake fucking meat they were bitching about. Fuck you!
And the government cheese and
I don't care. Does it melt? Add some cream, a little bit of butter, some garlic sauce, and make it taste like something different. I have survived through worse.
Wild, if you want to see them, go to YouTube and put in Trump food assistance.
Yeah, that's all you gotta do is type in styrofoam Trump food cooler. Guaranteed you will get at least 500 fucking hits. Trump styrofoam food cooler. It is a new program that was put out February, beginning of February, I think is when he started it.
Yeah,
In the end, it
it
went
started,
through. Um,
it started, it started this year.
it is a
People,
styrofoam cooler that gets FedExed or shipped to you, and inside the cooler there's dry ice and there's meals. There's
yeah,
preset.
basically instead of food stamps, you're given food because what the complaint was, people were taking the food stamps and using them for cash and buying like sodas and chips and cigarettes and everything but food. And he put a stop to it.
And that's no lie. As somebody who did, for a short time, receive food stamps to help cover supplemental income well after I lost my job.
It is a good idea, I guess, as long as the food is good. But again, I don't
I'm
necessarily trust.
I'm
I
sorry,
don't
even if the
necessarily.
food is not fucking good. If the food is
Well, no,
legitimately food,
yeah, but no, if it's poor food, then it's fucked. But if
there's
it's good food, then I mean, if it's fresh vegetables and fresh fruits, and but I don't
frozen
necessarily.
frozen
I don't.
vegetables and
Yeah,
frozen
but
fruits are perfectly acceptable.
I don't necessarily trust when people start privatizing government systems.
No, I don't either. However, I am gonna say, as a person who was a grocery store manager before I lost my job and have to suffer through food stamps, I was pissed watching people spend $800 and $900 and buy entire cart loads of sliced, ready to eat pork chop, steaks, shrimps, and shit. When I got food stamps for my family, I had to buy ramen and tuna, and if I was lucky, I'd have enough to get milk for the fucking month. How
Yeah,
the
I mean,
hell do they
food
give
banks,
people enough to eat fucking steak?
food banks are
I
also an interesting.
loved food banks. I absolutely fucking loved food trucks. I loved the places that would let you once a month come in and get a bag of fucking food. Absolutely fucking loved them. People that complain about the styrofoam cooler, go to fucking hell. You have not lived with fucking out if you're gonna complain about being handed government assistance. And I'm
Yeah,
sorry, this is as somebody who has lived on shit, who has slept in his fucking car in a park and been woken up by police officers telling him you cannot sleep here. You should be fucking lucky with a goddamn styrofoam cooler with fake beef.
yeah. Well, let's just say it's not top choice.
I know it's not. It
It's
could
not.
be
It's not.
lower
It's not
grade than
fake.
Taco Bell, and I
Right.
would still be happy.
Right. I mean, it's not fake beef, but it's let's say second or it's definitely not the Trump steaks that he was selling.
No, it's not. And we've definitely gone over. But I want to make this clear. I'm not a person who believes that I need to be rich and I need to spend good money on things. I have lived in the fucking ditch. I really have. I've lived in a car that
I have
was illegal, unregistered, gotten pulled over, gotten tickets for trying to fucking sleep in a park. I've gone through some shit.
yeah, I have to.
I've
I
never
have
been
to.
shot, but you got that on me. I'm sorry.
I lost my house. I lost my house. I slept in my car. I went to the long term parking lot over at the airport.
I I tried to pull into the park and find those old paths that the cops don't go down and still got fucked up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I hear you.
some people haven't lived that part of life and they don't realize it. And that's separate from the gun argument. But some people who have lived that lower part of life realize that,
Listen,
having a
a
gun
lot of
keeps
a
you
lot of people
safe.
talk. A lot of people talk about government assistance, and a lot of people talk about how people are always gaming the system and whatnot. But 9 times out of 10, government assistance goes to people that are really in need, and they're not assholes. They take what they can get, and they take care of what they can take care of, and they're trying. I mean, there's a lot of people that are homeless right now with full-time work.
I'll agree with what you said,
They're
except for the
literally
nine
they're
times out of 10. There are a
they're
lot of
they're
people who get away
literally
with screwing the system.
there are people with full-time employed work that are living in their car because they cannot put enough money together for the deposit and the first month. There
There are
are a lot of
people. There are people living in their car. I shit you not. This is from even from years ago before I had a wife
and
and
then
child.
I'll give you a little story. There was a health insurance company, okay, and it said to itself, okay, we are going to chase down everybody that is defrauding us. We're going to take this 1 year and we're going to chase down everybody that's defrauding us, and we're going to get our money back. And they did that. And then you know what they did? They got themselves $1 billion back. Do you know what it cost them to do that?
Probably like 3.2, 3.5.
No, it cost them $1 billion.
Oh,
So thing. There's always going to be people gaming the system. The hell, retail sales. The reason you have all the really easy to steal items right up by the cash register is because those are actually kind of like marked to be stolen. In other words, they assume they're going to lose a percentage every month to theft. They
oh, by
write
the
it
way,
they write it into their bottom line.
not not that I'm encouraging this, but just so you know, if you're ever at the front registers, the reason why a lot of grocery places don't mind you stealing candy bars is because they're probably going to expire before they sell. And by you stealing them, you get them out of the store, and we can claim that as stolen credit before they expire, and we lose all credit on the merchandise. As stupid as that sounds.
I hear you.
Items that turn up missing on inventory count on a yearly income loss from items stolen from the store. But if the item expires and you lose it because of expiration, it's lost because you didn't sell it and you don't get that
That's
money
kind of
back.
that's remember the discussion we had with YouTube and Google and how they're both owned by Alphabet,
Alphabet.
and Google has never made any money. It's always lost money. And I told you that, well, that doesn't really matter because Google produces content. The content keeps the viewers on the Google servers. So as long as they can keep on redirecting their traffic to within the Google servers, they've still got the ability of making money on ads to different websites and whatnot. That traffic stream is a moneymaker. So even though YouTube loses money, Alphabet can write off the loss from YouTube against the profit from Google, and they haven't lost any money.
Right. And trust me, as being a manager for a store in a chain, you understand that the chain gets to write off a certain amount, even if the store doesn't. It's really, tax laws are complicated. Let's wind down. We're really going over here. Wild Fox appears. What if you could never afford the license? There was another one in here. What if I get a when I can afford that tax forgiveness? There was something else. What if you don't know there was ever an expiration? By the way, that's the one. What if you didn't know there was never an expiration? Did you know that even your beer has an expiration date on it?
Yeah, but I heard that expiration date is a little bit of a bullshit
No,
deal.
no, no. If you are in America, pay very close attention to your beer's expiration date unless you're drinking foreign beer. Foreign beer,
Have,
the expiration is different than American beer. Now, take this as somebody who really, really took pride in doing a good job. And I
have you ever
hated beer vendors. And I
have,
rattled them down to rotate their fucking stock every time they were in my store.
no, have you ever seen the MRE videos?
I've seen a couple of them. Certain
The
things.
meals
Beer is
ready.
very different.
No, I know, but I'm saying a lot of those MRE. Hell, there was one guy who opened up an MRE from 1945 and ate some of it.
Yeah. It
So
depends on the
I
way
don't know.
they process the MRE though,
Right.
because there's different process methods for
It
MREs.
depends on the food. It depends on
Right.
the food. Sometimes the date. I mean, I've had milk go bad on me before the date.
Yeah. Um a thing about beer is most beer vendors will tell you there's no expiration on beer. By the way, good American beer is freshest closest to the production date. Foreign beer is best farthest from the production date on specific beers. So American beer like Coors or Bush or any of that other fucking piss water you like, they
Wild
don't
Fox.
have straight expiration dates, they have codes. And I
Wild
myself went through 36 fucking pages of learning to figure out how to read the goddamn code on beer. I'm that
Wild
kind of
Fox.
asshole.
It's a good idea to keep maybe even buy about a month's worth of ready to eat meals just in case.
You should
Yes,
always have dried goods in your house.
yeah, if the shit hits the fan, you don't want to be out looking for food.
You should have at least 1 week's worth of dried and or canned goods in your
Oh,
house
one
at
week?
all
No, you should have a
times.
month.
I try to keep a minimum of 1 week worth of dried and or canned goods, which usually comes out to like two
I
and a
am
half or
I am
3 weeks.
seriously considering buying the $150 survival package. It comes as a like a one of those.
That 5 gallon square bucket.
Yeah, well, it's like a big tub, and it's got
Yeah,
like 30 meals in it.
I know which one. It's 36 meals in it.
Right, and it's 36 meals, and it's all freeze dried, but it's all really tasty, and that way
I
just
want
in
to
case
say
something
it.
happens.
It even comes with Neapolitan ice cream.
Oh, what a space ice cream!
Yes, it has the Neapolitan, not the freeze dried, but the Insta ice
You don't have
cream.
to
When you
cook
stick
this
it on
stuff,
your tongue,
Fox.
it melts.
You basically pour. If you can boil water, you can cook this stuff. You boil water, you pour it in, you wait a few minutes, and boom,
Or
the
you
food's
nibble
ready.
on it very, very slowly.
Do you want to take this conversation to a Discord?
Actually,
If you want,
I oughta cut
if
it
you
for the
want,
night. I got a cigarette
oh,
in my hand. I'm waiting to go smoke because I haven't had a drink in almost 2 hours now, and I really want a cigarette.
okay. I've had,
Also,
I've
we're way off the tangent of guns, and I
yeah,
think that a wild fox appears is the only one sitting here hanging out with us at this point
I
in the
think so.
evening.
I think so too. Maybe we should, and if you do upload this, maybe you should cut the last, I don't know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Fuck it. I'm just gonna let this shit, like, in about 20 minutes, I'm just gonna hit the public and streams button because I have not. I don't know. Did I create a tab for the Numbed Wasteland yet? If I did, it's going there. If I didn't, it'll just go in streams until tomorrow. And then some point tomorrow, I'll figure out what the hell I'm doing.
Well, thanks, Wild Fox,
And
for
anybody
coming
else
and
who just
joining
happens to be
us.
sitting
And
there.
yeah, I think he's our last guest.
I'm
And
sorry if I'm boring when I sober up.
no, I think we just talked everybody's ear off, and I think also we were paying enough attention to the chat. because for a while there they were getting animated, and we kind of like just kept talking amongst
Oh,
ourselves.
yeah, they were. I was trying to watch that, and a whole lot of the animation was
I have an idea.
Wanabone, Alaska 390, Unwanted Reaper 195.
I have an idea. Why don't we the next time we do this, let's 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 tag it for like 45 minutes, and the last 15 minutes, why don't we go to like one of the voice rooms in your Discord and let anybody who has a mic come in and talk.
Absolutely. I want to apologize to you, Data, and anybody else because today the weather was so
No, no,
nice
no. Don't worry.
outside.
Listen,
I went
listen.
outside all day long and did no
Don't,
prep work for this show. I
don't,
just went,
don't
it's
worry.
beautiful. I'm done.
Don't worry about it. It's perfectly fine. And next week I may have like a completely swollen mouth and be on heavy duty painkillers because this wisdom tooth has to come out, and it's got to come out very soon. So
If there's something I have learned about doing live streams and getting online, it's one consistency. So,
I'm
other
sorry,
than my computer, I'm sorry.
you completely died there. I didn't get a word. I,
Apparently,
I,
there
I heard if there was something, and that was it.
my I'm gonna call my ISP. They were just down here fixing lines, and since they fixed the lines, nothing has been right.
There
Um,
it goes again. For a second, there it goes again.
I'm gonna call it a night. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. I'll figure out what the dilemma is by arguing with an ISP for an hour tomorrow. Everybody have a good night. Thank you
You
so
have a
much.
good night. Good night, everybody. Thanks for coming. Good night, Wild Fox. Hope to see you again.
We're gonna. Oh, what the hell am I even showing? What the? What is that? We'll get rid of that. We'll play this on the way out. Maybe. Crap's not working.